I noticed him because he didn't notice me. Or at least, that's what I told myself as I stood at the hotel bar, pretending to care about the glass of champagne in my hand, while he looked everywhere except at me. After years of cameras, strangers usually stared too long, smiled too eagerly, or tried to decide which version of Allison they wanted to meet. He simply ordered his drink and turned away, and somehow that felt almost rude, almost refreshing. Later, when I passed him in the corridor, he moved aside and said, "Excuse me," as if I were any other woman trying to get past. No recognition, no double take, no nervous little joke about having seen me somewhere. I remember thinking, does he really not know who I am? And feeling strangely disappointed that he might not. Then another thought followed, softer and much less flattering. Or does he know exactly who I am and simply not care? I hated that, and I wanted to find out. We met properly that evening when the rain drove everyone inside, and he was sitting alone beside the window with a book he wasn't reading. He looked at me, smiled, and said, "You look tired," which was possibly the least romantic thing anyone had ever said to me. I laughed, partly because I was offended, and partly because he was right. I had spent the entire day being Allison the celebrity, smiling at people I didn't know, and answering questions I had answered 100 times before. For a moment, I wanted to sit beside him, simply because he seemed to have no interest in that woman. We talked until the rain became a silver curtain beyond the glass, and I kept waiting for the moment when his real intentions would reveal themselves. He asked what music I liked, whether I preferred cities or the sea, and what I did when nobody was watching. Not once did he ask about my films, my photographs, my relationships, or the rumors that seemed to follow me like a second shadow. I found myself thinking, maybe he's playing a different kind of game, because surely nobody could be that indifferent by accident. And still, when he laughed at something stupid, I said I felt an unfamiliar warmth spread quietly through me. When the hotel bar closed, he walked me to the elevator and stopped there. I was suddenly aware of how close we were, of the faint scent of rain on his coat, of my own ridiculous heartbeat. He didn't reach for me, and for some reason, that restraint confused me more than a kiss would have. "Good night, Allison," as though my name belonged to an ordinary woman he had enjoyed meeting. I went upstairs, wondering whether I had imagined the entire evening. The next morning, I found him in the little cafe across the street, and he looked surprised when I sat down opposite him. "Coffee?" he asked, and when I nodded, he pushed the sugar toward me, without asking how much I took. It was such a small thing, almost nothing, yet I felt something inside me loosen. He wasn't treating me like a fantasy or a conquest, or someone who belonged behind velvet ropes. He was treating me like Allison. And suddenly I understood that what had seemed like indifference was actually the rarest kind of attention. We spent one more afternoon together before I had to leave, walking through quiet streets where nobody seemed to recognize me, At the station, he hugged me for just long enough to make me wish it had lasted longer, then stepped back without making a promise he couldn't keep. "I liked you," he said, almost shyly, "before I knew anything about you." I smiled because I finally understood he hadn't been ignoring the celebrity. He had been refusing to let her stand between us. For the first time in years, someone had looked past the woman everyone thought they knew and somehow found me.